From Hamilton's catastrophic pileups to Alonso's miraculous escape, we're going to count down the worst F1 crashes that changed the course of F1 history forever. But before we get started, take a moment to like the video and subscribe to DRS Speed Hunters for more explosive breakdowns. Alright, let's dive in. In our previous video, we explored the epic rivalry between Ayrton Senna and Alain Prost. Now, their intense competition led to several dramatic crashes, including their infamous collision at the 1990 Japanese Grand Prix. But that's not the worst of it. Buckle up, folks, as we go down the list. Rev up the engines, and let's get started. Ayrton Senna. The legend of Ayrton Senna is a tragic reminder of how risky F1 racing is. Ayrton Senna, one of the all-time greats in F1, met a tragic end in one of the most heart-stopping crashes the sport has ever seen. The Brazilian legend was deeply shaken by Roland Ratzenberger's fatal accident, which happened just the day before, and was reportedly considering withdrawing from the Grand Prix. Sadly, he chose to race, and on lap 7, disaster struck. Senna lost control of his car, slamming into an exposed concrete barrier at a staggering 192 miles an hour. The devastating incident sparked a huge shift in F1, prioritizing driver safety now above all else. In response, the sport introduced mandatory testing for tire barriers, secured barriers with rubber belts, and adopted wheel tethers to minimize hazardous detachments during crashes. These critical changes transformed the sport, ensuring drivers were better protected. Fernando Alonso. Next up is a terrifying crash that ended in a near-death incident, and we're talking about no one else but Alonso. Picture this, Fernando Alonso's heart-stopping crash at the 2016 Australian GP. The Spanish driver's McLaren became airborne, somersaulting through the air at a staggering 200 miles an hour before coming to rest upside down. Miraculously, Alonso walked away with barely a scratch. Talk about a near-death experience. But as we know, F1 drivers face life or death situations every time they hit the track. And Alonso's season was far from over. Just a few races later, at Imola in 2024, his front brakes erupted in flames during his first pit stop. Luckily, the inferno was extinguished when he floored it. Mark Webber. Mark Webber was flying down the Valencia Straight, chasing speed like it owed him money. But in Formula One, the line between glory and disaster is razor thin. And Webber was about to find out just how thin. Closing in on a sluggish Lotus, he went for an overtake, but then bam! The nose of his Red Bull kissed the rear tire of the Lotus, and suddenly the car wasn't racing anymore, it was flying. For a heart-stopping moment, Webber's car launched into the sky, flipping end over end like a broken toy tossed by an angry child. Mid-air, time seemed to freeze. Spectators could only watch wide-eyed as the Red Bull somersaulted, slammed onto the track, and exploded into debris against the barriers. Silence. Then, with the swagger of a man who just dodged a cosmic punchline, Webber popped the cockpit open, climbed out, and gave a nod, like he just nailed a parking job. Jules Bianchi. Now, not all drivers have been as fortunate. Jules Bianchi's promising career was cut short after colliding with a 6,500-kilogram crane during a clearance operation. However, Jules Bianchi's tragic accident serves as a poignant reminder of the sport's unforgiving nature. As F1 navigates the delicate balance between risk and safety, the intersection of innovation, regulation, and human determination forges an ever-resilient sport. Jos Verstappen. Next is one of the most infamous fire incidents in F1 history that befell Max's father, Jos Verstappen, at the 1994 Hockenheim race. A routine pit stop turned into a nightmare when fuel sprayed from the hose, engulfing his scorching hot car in flames. Verstappen recalled the horror. Quote, "Everything went up in flames, suddenly dark and black. I couldn't breathe." Miraculously, he survived. Despite the traumatic incident, pit stop refueling continued until 2010, when repeated mishaps finally led to its ban. Roland Ratzenberger. Tragically, Roland Ratzenberger was not as fortunate. His fatal crash at the 1994 San Marino Grand Prix left an indelible mark on F1. The Austrian driver, with just 3 F1 races under his belt, slammed into a wall at 195.7 miles an hour during qualifying. That devastating weekend would change F1 forever, claiming the lives of 2 talented drivers, Ratzenberger and Ayrton Senna, in only 24 hours. Romain Grosjean. Romain Grosjean's terrifying incident at the 2020 Bahrain Grand Prix changed his life and F1 forever. Grosjean's car split in two and exploded after hitting a metal barrier at 119 miles an hour, generating a staggering 67 Gs of force. Trapped for 27 seconds, he miraculously escaped through the inferno. This incident sparked crucial safety reforms, transforming F1's approach to driver protection. Justin Wilson. Driving in motorsports can sometimes feel like you're not just racing the other drivers, but dodging flying hazards too. That's exactly what happened to Justin Wilson in 2015 during an IndyCar race. One car crashes, a piece of debris flies off, and somehow it finds his head like it had GPS tracking. Wilson wasn't even part of the initial crash, just caught in the wrong place at the worst possible time. It's like leading a race flawless only to have someone else's wreck bring out the safety car and ruin your gap. Except in Wilson's case, it was a rogue piece of debris flying at 200 miles an hour. And instead of losing the race, he lost his life. It's a brutal reminder that in motorsport, you don't always need to make a mistake to pay the ultimate price. Justin's tragic passing shook the motorsport community. He was known as a talented racer and an all-around great guy, which made the loss even harder. His accident pushed motorsports, including F1, to rethink safety because, let's face it, dodging car parts mid-race shouldn't be part of the sport. Gilles Villeneuve. Let's talk about Gilles Villeneuve. A man who drove like every race was a grudge match with fate. In 1982 at the Belgian Grand Prix, and true to form, Villeneuve wasn't one to lift his foot off the pedal. In qualifying, he was going full throttle, trying to shave every millisecond off his lap. But here's the twist. Up ahead is Jochen Mass, moving just a bit slower. And in a heartbeat, Villeneuve makes a split-second decision to pass. Unfortunately, both drivers misjudged each other, and Mass moved right into Villeneuve as he tried to overtake. And boom, they collide. Villeneuve's car went airborne, twisted midair, and was thrown from the cockpit, landing horribly. It was a devastating loss that shocked the entire paddock. Niki Lauda. Niki Lauda's racing past holds a grim reminder of F1 risks. The 1976 German Grand Prix saw Lauda's life-changing crash, which forced the sport to reevaluate its safety standards. On a rain-soaked Nürburgring circuit, Lauda, the fastest driver, voiced concerns about track conditions and advocating for canceling the race. Unfortunately, his warnings fell on deaf ears. Disaster struck at the treacherous Bergwerk corner. Lauda's Ferrari careened off the track, crashing into a wall and erupting into flames. He suffered severe burns and lung damage and then fell into a coma. Given his last rites, Lauda's survival was nothing short of miraculous. Lauda's resilience was awe-inspiring. Just 42 days after his near-fatal crash, he returned to racing, securing a remarkable third-place finish at the Italian Grand Prix. This courageous comeback cemented Lauda's status as a racing legend. His determination for advocacy and safety paved the way for F1's modern safety standards. The Lauda crash led to sweeping changes, including improved helmet design and fire-resistant material. Also, enhanced track safety features, including better barriers, runoff areas, stricter safety protocols, and emergency response plans. Lauda's legacy extends far beyond his racing accomplishments. His bravery and advocacy have saved countless lives in the high-speed world of F1. Antoine Hubert and Jean-Manuel Correa. Let's take you back to that fateful day in 2019 at the legendary Spa-Francorchamps. The engines roared and excitement hung in the air like a thick fog at dawn. Antoine Hubert, a rising star in the world of motorsport, was ready to show the world what he can do. As the Formula 2 race unfolded, Hubert was like dancing on wheels, gracefully navigating the twists and turns, full of skill and determination. It seemed like he had everything under control. After all, he was moving like he just chugged a can of energy drink, but then disaster struck. As Hubert sped through the high-speed steep corner, a series of events unfolded in the blink of an eye. After briefly losing control, he collided with the barrier. His car spun helplessly back onto the track, leaving him stranded and vulnerable. And just when it seemed like things couldn't get worse, another car driven by Juan-Manuel Correa came barreling in at full speed. The impact was catastrophic. The collision tore both cars apart. Marshals and medical teams rushed to the scene, but the damage was already done. Hubert succumbed to his injuries later that day. His passing was a devastating reminder of just how unforgiving the sport can be. Juan-Manuel Correa, though gravely injured, did survive but would endure a long and painful recovery. Jackie Stewart. Jackie Stewart's harrowing experience at the Spa circuit's notorious corner left him dangling upside down, fuel dripping onto his face. Fortunately, two fellow drivers rescued him. Stewart, initially skeptical of seatbelts, became a vocal advocate for driver safety after his near-fatal crash. He reflected, quote, "Formula One tracks were death traps back then. No runoff areas, and obstacles were alarmingly close." Guan Yu Zhao. George Russell's collision sent Zhou's Alfa Romeo flying, sliding on its halo before clearing a concrete barrier. Thankfully, Zhou walked away unscathed, crediting the halo for saving his life. This life-saving device is a testament to F1's remarkable safety advancements. Carlos Sainz. The sport has since evolved, but Carlos's dramatic crash at Monza Ascari Cicane sparked FIA scrutiny of seatbelt regulations. FIA's Michael Masi reassured, quote, "Seatbelts are designed to stretch. It's safer for the human body than rigid restraints." The incident prompted the FIA to review and refine seatbelt safety, but this was nothing compared to what happened to Guan Yu Zhou. Did you enjoy this video? Well, if so, be sure to subscribe to DRS Speed Hunters for more of these legendary F1 moments. And don't forget to like this video and hit the notification bells to be the first to discover more captivating series. And we'll see you on the next lap.